Let go of the addiction to being busy. Releasing these things is not loss. It is liberation. Every unnecessary thing you drop creates space for something essential to grow. Welcome back to Stoicism Breath. Think about who you were 1 year ago. What did that version of you need that you no longer need today? Maybe you needed constant reassurance. Maybe you cared deeply about what everyone thought. Maybe you needed alcohol to relax, social media to feel connected, or shopping to feel valuable. Ask yourself honestly, what have you outgrown? That is the real measure of growth. Not what you gained, but what you transcended. You used to need the last word. Now you can let people be wrong. You used to need to be included in everything. Now you value your solitude. You used to need to prove yourself constantly. Now your work speaks for itself. You used to crave revenge. Now you crave peace. This is strength. Not the strength to acquire, but the strength to release. The strength to walk away from what no longer serves you. The strength to say no to good things because you are committed to great things. To strip away everything that is not essential until only truth remains. In silence, you practice subtraction. You remove one toxic relationship, one time-wasting habit, one limiting belief, one unnecessary commitment, and suddenly you feel lighter, clearer, more yourself. The world tells you success is about more money, more followers, more achievements, more recognition. And yes, those things can matter, but they are not the true measure of growth. Growth is internal. It is the expansion of your capacity to handle life without falling apart, to face challenges without needing someone to save you, to be alone without feeling lonely, to be successful without being validated, to feel enough without proving it. You know you are growing when the things that used to trigger you no longer do, when opinions that once destroyed you now bounce off, when losses that once crushed you now teach you, when the silence that once scared you becomes your sanctuary. Start measuring yourself differently. Do not ask what you accomplished this month. Ask what you no longer need. What fear you released. What insecurity you healed. What attachment you surrendered. What performance you finally stopped putting on. That is the real work. Not building a better mask, but removing the mask entirely. Not creating a more impressive version of yourself, but becoming the most authentic version. Not adding more to your life, but clearing out everything that blocks your life from flowing naturally. In silence, you subtract your way back to your true self. You remove the conditioning, the expectations, the should be, the performances, the pretending, until all that is left is who you actually are. And that person does not need half of what you have been carrying. Now rule number 6. Respond to life. Do not react to it. There is a gap between what happens and what you do about it. Your entire future lives in that gap. Most people collapse that space. Something happens and they explode. Someone says something and they fire back. An obstacle appears and they panic. They live on autopilot, letting circumstances control their responses, then wonder why life feels out of control. Viktor Frankl discovered one of the most powerful truths about human freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And that choice is where your strength begins. In your response lives your growth and your freedom. Viktor Frankl learned this truth in hell. You do not need to suffer like that to learn it. You can practice it right now. Welcome back to Stoicism Breath. Every moment gives you a choice, even when it does not feel that way. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You can explode, or you can breathe and let it go. Someone criticizes your work. You can defend your ego, or you can pause and ask yourself if there is truth worth learning from. Your plan fails. You can spiral, or you can adjust. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Reaction comes from your past programming, your wounds, your ego. Response comes from your wisdom, your values, your choice. In silence, you create the gap. You practice the pause. You train yourself to stop, breathe, and choose instead of exploding into whatever your nervous system defaults to. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about not being controlled by it. Feel the anger. Notice the fear. Acknowledge the hurt. Then decide what you are going to do with it. Do not hand your power to emotion. Use emotion as information, not instruction. Watch how most people live. Someone insults them, and they spend 3 days crafting the perfect comeback. Someone succeeds, and they waste hours in jealousy. Someone disappoints them, and they burn the entire relationship down. All reaction. Zero response. They are not choosing their actions. Their triggers are choosing for them. And then they wonder why their life keeps repeating the same painful patterns. You are different, or you are about to be. Because you are learning to widen that gap. To live in the space between what happens to you and what you do about it. Start small. The next time someone says something that usually triggers you, pause. Count to 3. Take a breath. Then choose your words instead of throwing out the first thing that comes to mind. Notice how different it feels. Notice how much power you reclaim. The next time something goes wrong, instead of immediately catastrophizing, ask yourself one simple question. What is the best response here? Not the fastest. Not the one that feeds your ego. The best. The one that actually moves you closer to your goals instead of giving you a moment of false satisfaction. In silence, you rehearse this. You think about the situations that usually make you react. Your boss criticizing you. Your partner forgetting something important. Your friend canceling plans. Traffic delays. Small disappointments. You visualize the pause. You practice the response. Because when the moment arrives, you will not have time to think. You will either react from old programming or respond from practice. And practice happens in silence before the moment. This is how you break generational patterns. Your parents reacted and it created chaos. You are going to respond, and it will create peace. Their triggers control them. Your wisdom will guide you. This is also how you earn respect. People who react are predictable, easy to manipulate, easy to dismiss. People who respond are grounded, powerful, and hard to shake. They cannot be baited into arguments. They cannot be provoked into bad decisions. They are not controlled by external circumstances. Your reaction gives away your power. Your response demonstrates your strength. One says you control me. The other says I control me. Think about the last time you reacted poorly. Maybe you sent an angry text. Maybe you said something you wish you could take back. Now imagine what would have changed if you had paused for just 3 seconds. That is the work we practice here on Stoicism Breath. Maybe you made a decision in the heat of emotion. Maybe you said something you cannot take back. How did that work out? Did it solve anything, or did it create more problems? Now think about a time you paused and responded wisely. You felt the anger but chose calm. You wanted to quit but chose persistence. You could have burned a bridge but chose understanding. That choice probably served you better. Welcome back to Stoicism Breath. That is the pattern you are building now. Not perfection. Not emotional shutdown. Just the growing ability to choose your response instead of being hijacked by your reactions. In silence, you become the person who does not give their power away. The person who does not let other people's chaos become their chaos. The person who does not confuse emotional outbursts with strength. You become someone who can be trusted under pressure because you have learned to handle yourself. The space between stimulus and response is where your freedom lives. Start living there. Now, rule number 7. Find meaning in repetition. Your life is not going to be a highlight reel. And that is exactly where the power is. You keep waiting for the big moment, the breakthrough, the transformation, the day everything clicks and your life finally becomes what you dreamed of. And while you are waiting, you are dismissing today. This ordinary, repetitive, unremarkable today. But this is it. This is your life. Not the future moment you are fantasizing about. This repetition, these small choices, this boring discipline, this unglamorous consistency, that is where change happens. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because the present is always exciting, but because it is all you actually have." Every day you wake up and do essentially the same things. You make the same choices. You face the same challenges. And you think that is the problem. It is not. That is the practice. That is where transformation actually lives. The magic is not in the moment you finally reach the goal. It is in the 1,000 days you showed up before anyone cared. It is in the repetition you committed to when there were no visible results. It is in finding meaning in the process instead of waiting for meaning to arrive with the outcome. In silence, you make peace with this. You stop romanticizing the future and start honoring the present. You realize that every rep counts. Every page read. Every healthy meal. Every kind word. Every moment of discipline when nobody is watching. This is how great things are built. Not through inspiration, through repetition. The writer writes every day, even when the words are terrible. The athlete trains every day, even when progress feels invisible. The entrepreneur works every day, even when revenue is zero. They find meaning in showing up, in commitment, in becoming someone who does what they said they would do, regardless of how they feel or what results they see. You want transformation without the boredom. You want the destination without the journey. You want the harvest without the planting, watering, weeding, and waiting. It does not work that way. The person you are becoming is being built in these repetitive moments. The boring ones. The ones that feel small. The ones you are tempted to skip because you think one day does not matter. But one day makes every difference. One day builds, or one day breaks. And that quiet choice, repeated over time, is the path we walk together here on Stoicism Breath. One day strengthens the pattern or weakens it. One day proves to yourself that you are serious, or proves that you are not. Here on Stoicism Breath, we talk a lot about silence. Because in silence, you begin to find something sacred in the mundane. You stop needing every day to feel special, and you start making every day count. you realize that excellence is not a special event. It is a daily practice. The world loves to celebrate the anomaly, the overnight success that actually took 10 years, the championship that required 10,000 hours of training, the book that became a bestseller after 17 rejections and countless revisions. But no one celebrates the repetition that made it possible, the unglamorous, unsexy, ordinary repetition. And that is where you choose to live now. Not waiting for motivation, not chasing inspiration, just doing the work day after day, rep after rep, choice after choice. You stop looking for meaning in highlights and start finding it in consistency. Because that is the real difference between people who dream and people who achieve. Dreamers wait for the perfect moment. Achievers make every moment count. Dreamers need to feel ready. Achievers become ready through repetition. Your life is being shaped right now. In how you spend this ordinary Tuesday. In whether you honor your commitments when no one is watching. In whether you find purpose in the process or keep postponing your life until some imagined future. Stop waiting for your life to start. It already started. This is it. These repetitive days are your one precious life. You either find meaning in them, or you waste them waiting for meaning to arrive. In silence, you commit to the practice. You show up today, tomorrow, and the day after that. Not because it is exciting, because it matters, because this is how real transformation happens. Slowly, quietly, repetitively, powerfully. And here is the truth underneath all 7 principles. You already have everything you need to become unbreakable. You do not need more information. You do not need more motivation. You do not need perfect circumstances. You need to commit to the work that happens in silence, where no one is applauding, where nothing feels dramatic, where real change is actually happening. Master your morning. Speak less and notice more. Protect your energy like it is sacred. Build yourself in private. Measure growth by what you release. Respond instead of react. Find meaning in repetition. These are not just principles. They are a new operating system for your life. And the installation happens quietly, in the small moments where you choose differently, where you build differently, where you become different. The world will stay loud. It will stay chaotic. It will keep demanding your attention, your energy, your peace. Your job is to build something inside yourself that the world cannot touch. A foundation so solid that external circumstances cannot shake it. That foundation is built one silent morning at a time. One mindful pause at a time. One private discipline at a time. One release at a time. One intentional response at a time. One meaningful repetition at a time. You do not need to announce this transformation. You do not need to document it. You do not need permission or validation. You only need to commit to yourself. In silence. Starting now. So if this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside, do not let this be just another video you watch and forget. Support Stoicism Breath by liking this video, leave your affirmation in the comments and mean it, and share this with someone who is ready to rebuild. Subscribe to Stoicism Breath, because we are creating real transformation here, not just content. You are not broken beyond repair. You are ready for a rebuild. And the blueprint is already in your hands. Now go build yourself into something the chaos cannot break. Return strong. Return clear. Return unbreakable.